Imagine the stillness of a calm harbor, a fortress of safety, or so it seems. Now, picture the tranquility shattered by a sudden, deafening explosion. Flames erupt into the night sky, lives are lost in an instant, and history is changed forever. This is not just one story, it's two: HMS Royal Oak, a proud symbol of British naval power, and USS Maine, the spark that ignited a war. Two ships, two mysteries, and two tragedies that still haunt us today. But the burning question remains: what truly went wrong, and were these disasters really accidents? The Royal Oak was anchored in what was thought to be an impenetrable safe haven at Scapa Flow. The Maine, docked peacefully in Havana Harbor, represented America's growing influence. Both ships, however, met eerily similar fates: catastrophic explosions that claimed hundreds of lives. Was it sabotage, human error, or a cruel twist of fate? And what do these twin tragedies reveal about the fragile line between power and vulnerability? HMS Royal Oak and USS Maine weren't just ships, they were symbols of national pride and naval supremacy. HMS Royal Oak, a British battleship built in the 1910s, was a veteran of World War I. By the time of World War II, she was older but still a formidable presence, representing Britain's maritime heritage. Meanwhile, the USS Maine, commissioned in 1895, was a state-of-the-art armored cruiser. Her presence in Havana Harbor was a bold statement of American strength during a time of rising tensions with Spain. Both ships carried the hopes of their nations. They were seen as invincible, unsinkable, and unassailable. But their tragic ends would expose vulnerabilities and force their nations to confront uncomfortable truths. How could such mighty vessels meet such disastrous fates? October 14, 1939. In the early days of World War II, Britain's naval base at Scapa Flow was considered impenetrable. But on this fateful night, a German U-boat, U-47, managed to infiltrate its defenses. Using stealth and cunning, it launched torpedoes at the unsuspecting HMS Royal Oak. The explosions ripped through the ship's hull, and within minutes, the battleship sank. Over 800 men, many of them young cadets, perished in the freezing waters. This attack sent shockwaves through Britain and the world. How could a U-boat penetrate such a secure base? And why was the Royal Oak so vulnerable? The incident raised questions about Britain's preparedness and the changing nature of naval warfare. February 15, 1898. In Havana Harbor, the USS Maine was a symbol of American power during a period of rising tensions with Spain. That night, a mysterious explosion tore through the ship, splitting it in two and sending it to the harbor floor. Over 260 crew members lost their lives in an instant. The cause? Still debated to this day. Was it a Spanish mine, an internal accident, or something even more sinister? The destruction of the Maine became a rallying cry for war. "Remember the Maine," echoed across the United States, fueling the Spanish-American War. But what truly happened that night remains shrouded in mystery. The loss of HMS Royal Oak was a devastating blow to British morale in the early days of World War II. As news of the disaster spread, families across Britain mourned the loss of over 800 sailors. The tragedy also highlighted a glaring vulnerability. Scapa Flow, previously considered impenetrable, had been compromised. This forced Britain to re-evaluate its naval defenses and fortify the base against further attacks. But the question remained: how could a U-boat slip through undetected? Was it sheer German ingenuity, or did the Royal Navy underestimate its enemy? Survivors of the attack described haunting scenes of chaos and bravery. Stories emerged of sailors helping their comrades escape, even as the ship listed and sank. The wreck of the Royal Oak remains a war grave to this day, a solemn reminder of the lives lost and the lessons learned in wartime. In the United States, the explosion of the USS Maine became a lightning rod for public outrage. Headlines screamed accusations against Spain, and the phrase, "Remember the Maine," galvanized a nation into action. The incident was the final spark that ignited the Spanish-American War. But behind the patriotic fervor, questions persisted. Was the explosion caused by a Spanish mine, as many believed? Or was it an internal accident, perhaps a coal bunker fire igniting nearby ammunition? Investigations into the cause of the explosion have continued for over a century. Early inquiries pointed to external sabotage, but later studies suggested an internal accident. The truth remains elusive, buried with the wreckage at the bottom of Havana Harbor. Today, the wreck of HMS Royal Oak lies at the bottom of Scapa Flow, a designated war grave. Each year, memorial services honor the sailors who lost their lives. Divers occasionally visit the wreck to document its condition and pay respects, but it remains a solemn site, protected by law. The tragedy of the Royal Oak also spurred advancements in naval defense, ensuring that such a breach would never happen again. The story of HMS Royal Oak is one of sacrifice and resilience. While her sinking was a devastating loss, it served as a wake-up call for Britain in the early days of World War II. It reminded the nation that vigilance and innovation were critical in the face of a cunning enemy. The USS Maine's legacy is equally complex. Its explosion was a pivotal moment in American history, fueling the Spanish-American War and marking the United States' emergence as a global power. The phrase, "Remember the Maine," remains etched in American history, a symbol of unity and resolve. Today, the wreck of the USS Maine rests in Havana Harbor, a poignant reminder of the lives lost and the questions left unanswered. The ship's bell and other artifacts are preserved as memorials, honoring those who served aboard her. The story of the Maine is a testament to the impact a single event can have on the course of history. Two ships, two devastating explosions, and two vastly different contexts. Yet both HMS Royal Oak and USS Maine left indelible marks on history. When we compare these two tragedies, certain patterns emerge. Both incidents revealed weaknesses in naval strategy and preparation, with fatal consequences. For the Royal Oak, it was an underestimation of German U-boat capabilities. For the Maine, it was the vulnerability of coal-fired ships in an era of growing tensions. Despite the differences, both events sparked intense public and political reactions. One led to changes in military defense systems, while the other ignited a war that reshaped global politics. The question is, could either tragedy have been avoided, or were they inevitable consequences of their respective eras? The sinking of HMS Royal Oak taught Britain several hard lessons. First, complacency is a dangerous enemy. The assumption that Scapa Flow was an impenetrable fortress proved fatal. Second, it underscored the importance of constantly evolving naval defenses. Anti-submarine nets, sonar, and increased patrols became standard after this tragedy, saving countless lives in future conflicts. But perhaps the most enduring lesson is the human cost of war. For the families of the 833 sailors who perished, the Royal Oak is not just a shipwreck but a deeply personal loss. It's a reminder of the sacrifices made by those who serve and the price of underestimating an enemy. Unlike HMS Royal Oak, the USS Maine's explosion didn't occur during wartime, but its impact was no less profound. The main lesson was the devastating consequences of speculation and misinformation. The assumption that Spain was behind the explosion fueled public outrage and led to a war. Modern investigations suggest that an internal coal fire might have been the actual cause. If true, this tragedy was not just a loss of life but a preventable disaster with far-reaching political consequences. The USS Maine also serves as a lesson in the power of media. Sensationalized headlines can shape public opinion and influence government decisions. In today's world of instant information, the story of the Maine reminds us of the importance of verifying facts before drawing conclusions. Despite decades of research and analysis, questions still linger over both HMS Royal Oak and USS Maine. Could the Royal Oak sinking have been prevented with better reconnaissance? Was there a breakdown in communication that allowed U-47 to infiltrate Scapa Flow? For the USS Maine, the mystery lies in the explosion's cause. Was it sabotage, an accident, or something else entirely? These unanswered questions keep the stories of these ships alive. They remind us of the complexities of naval warfare and the thin line between tragedy and triumph. As we delve into the past, we honor those who served and lost their lives, ensuring that their sacrifices were not in vain. Thanks for watching and subscribe my channel.